Unlike so many who are talking about Spence-Crawford that is coming up this weekend, I actually watched the fights. Okay? And we got to talk about it. Okay? I'm going to run it down for you. All right? I told y'all I'm the hardest working man in all of business. Okay? And I'm about to run it down for you. All right? But before I do, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, okay? I am your homeboy first, and this is the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. Put it on some. Again, hit that subscribe button, okay? I deserve it. I put in some work, y'all. Lots of work. Really on my journalistic shit, okay? Really on my Burt Sugar, Max Kellerman, you know what I'm talking about? So please reward me by hitting that subscribe button and share, put all your people on. All right. But let's get into it, okay? So I watched Bud's fights and I watched Errol's fights. Make sure y'all check out the segment about Errol as well. Also, make sure y'all check out the segment with me and my player partner Jason Clay, okay? We putting some money on this thing, okay? We putting some money on this thing, all right? We betting the fifth, all right? The cost of a fifth of liquor, okay? So make sure you check that one. I ain't gonna reveal who I'm going with yet, okay? But check that out, all right? But in this one, let's go ahead and go through Bud's fight record. Okay. Now, the way I tried to do it, I tried to go with these guys kind of like in chronological order and kind of see how their careers were kind of mirroring each other at the time. Okay. Now, of course, Bud is a little older than Errol, so it didn't match up exactly. So I didn't start all the way back at Bud's at the genesis of Bud's career. I actually started with Bud's first title bout and then came forward. Okay, so that is with Alejandro Sanabria or Sanabria. Okay, I can't remember exactly how to pronounce his name. Okay, well, that's why I started with him. All right. And in that one, he knocked him out. It was a good performance, and Bud won the NABO lightweight belt. Okay. This was typical Bud performance in that one. All right. The next fight for him was Andre Klimov. Okay. Unanimous decision. In my opinion, based on what I wrote here in my notes, it was a bad showing. He fought Southpaw damn near the whole fight. Clearly won every round, but there wasn't anything spectacular, you know. And you kind of used to seeing something spectacular from Bud Crawford, but it wasn't anything like that in this fight. Matter of fact, the crowd booed this fight, you know, throughout the fight. Okay, so that's the only fight of his that I have down in my notes is like a bad showing. Okay, because he probably should have knocked Cuz out. All right, the next fight was Ricky Burns. Okay, now he went over there to Ricky Burns' home turf over there in Scotland. Okay, and that's where he won the WBO lightweight belt. He didn't knock him out, but he beat his ass all night. It was a clear dominant fight. Now the video that I watched on YouTube of it was clearly biased for Ricky Burns. Okay, it was his people, and they were talking down on Bud for real. For real, they felt like Burns should have beat Bud's ass. Okay, now it's hard for me to say that's how the rest of the fight game or the rest of the boxing world felt about Bud at that moment because again, this telecast was so biased for Burns. Okay, but I'm just mentioning that because I know some may look at that fight and act like, well, Bud should have beat him, but based on what people were saying at the time, at least in this video, it seemed like it should have been a competitive fight, or it was an upset for Bud. Okay, but again, this telecast was biased. So let me know if y'all know anything else about that fight. Okay, the next one was just a stellar performance. Okay, against Gamboa. Very impressive TKO. Okay, the announcers were actually doubting Bud being in the southpaw stance. They weren't understanding why he wasn't going orthodox until he caught Gamboa with the right hook. Okay, then they shut the fuck up. Then okay, but this was a very impressive one. If y'all want to see an impressive Bud fight leading up to this Spence fight, go check that one out. Okay, the next fight was Raymundo Beltran, or Beltran, I should say, probably. Okay, he was considered the second best fighter in the division coming into the fight. based on everything that the HBO team was saying. And Bud just outboxed him all night, almost entirely from southpaw. Okay, his defense was great as well. Okay, the next fight was Thomas Delorme. And I got in my notes here that Bud was a 2014 Fight of the Year. Okay, so he's starting to get some of that acclaim around this time. Okay, this was his first fight at 140. Delorme only had one loss coming into the fight, and was a naturally bigger fighter. He was 22-1 with 14 KOs. He actually came down in weight to fight this fight. He came down from 147. Okay. Also, I learned in this fight, by listening to what the announcer was saying, I learned that Bud had got shot. See, I haven't been watching the what they call that shit. Oh, all the little promos and stuff that they doing leading up to the fight. I ain't watching none of that shit. I just been watching the fights. Okay, that's what I've been wanting to see, the fucking fights. I ain't want to see all the talking. Been watching the fights. But I've been gaining information from the announcers talking during the fights, and that's when I learned that Bud once got shot in the head, I guess grazed or something like that. After leaving a dice game and drove himself to the hospital. And see, they were sharing that as a way as an example of showing how crazy this motherfucker is. Okay. But I did have that in my notes. All right, but Bud scored an impressive 6-round knockout in this one against Delorme. Delorme was either even or up in this fight. Okay. Matter of fact, Harold Letterman had him up. Okay. So again, that speaks to, some people say the man wasn't fighting nobody, but he had some tough ones. He just ended up laying these boys down. Bud wasn't doing anything wrong, in my opinion. Delorme was just a solid fucking fighter. But Bud caught him with a nice feint jab, then hit him with a hook right hand combo that led to the first of 3 knockdowns in that round, and then it was a wrap. Bud fought this whole fight right-handed. Interesting. Okay. And with this victory, he won the WBO super lightweight title. Okay. Moving on, he faced off against Derek John. John came into the fight 29-1. This fight was actually billed as Bud's audition to fight Manny Pacquiao. Okay. I gotta go back and see why the hell that shit never happened. Probably politics. Okay. Bud started the fight orthodox and then switched to southpaw in the last minute of the first. Scored a knockdown damn near right after that. Okay. He stunned him again at the end of the second. I do want to make note though, and this was in my note. Do want to share with y'all. John did catch Bud a few times with that right hand. Okay, but Bud took it well. And see, that's the kind of shit I was looking for. How does he take licks? Okay, I was looking for that in my Errol research as well. Like judging these guys' chin. How do they bounce back? How do they keep fighting? Do they keep fighting after they take a good shot? And I pretty much seen that. Okay, but he scored another knockdown in the 9th, and then it was a TKO in the 10th. Okay. Next fight for Bud was Henry Lundy. So you might know him as Hank Lundy. He came into the fight 26-5. Looked like he came out ready to fight. He won the first round. In my opinion. Crawford switched to southpaw early in the first, which you see that a lot. A lot of these fights he would start orthodox and then switch to southpaw within the first goddamn 30 seconds, first minute and a half, something like that. Okay. Lundy actually switched in the 4th, but he got TKO in the 5th. Okay. Next fight for Bud was Victor Postal or Postal. Okay, whichever one how to pronounce it. He came in 28-0 with 12 knockouts. Was a WBC super lightweight champ. Was considered the second best fighter at 140 at the time. Okay. He was taller than Bud, trained by Freddie Roach. Okay, so like this is a good matchup. All right. Bud switched to southpaw within the first minute of the fight. Like I told you, he does that often. He scored a knockdown right at the beginning of the 5th, and then scored another one in the middle of the 5th with a mean left hand. Okay. Bud switched back to righty for about 30 seconds in the 12th and staggered Postal with a jab now. Okay. And he ended up winning by unanimous decision. He dominated the fight defensively with movement, angles, quickness, just brilliance. Okay. His next fight was John Molina. And I have here in my notes, in the pre-fight interview with Roy, Bud mentioned that he had been trying to fight Manny Pacquiao. So again, seems like Errol wasn't the target at that time. He was trying to get Manny. Okay. All right, but Molina came to the fight as a taller and heavier guy. Molina couldn't make 140. Molina came in with a record of 29-6 with 23 knockouts. Okay. And I also made note of this, that Max Kellerman said he respected Bud's resume to this point. Okay, so again, I don't know. I guess looking back, people looking down on his resume, but in real time, folks were respecting who he was fighting. But back to the fight itself, Bud started out right and was cooking with some jabs and straights. He switched left and midway through the round after a couple of heavy shots by Molina. Okay, and that's something I noticed too. It seemed like when he wanted to really get in his bag defensively, he's southpaw. I think he's better defensively southpaw. He can really lay some wood in orthodox, but it seems like he smartly wants to be more defensive minded first. Okay. Molina was kind of awkward. His defense sucked, but he did try to throw some big shots. Okay. He got TKO'd in the 8th. Body shots were deadly. Molina was just totally outclassed. And this was the first time after this fight, okay, after this Molina fight, this was the first time that I saw that he was asked about Spence in the post-fight interview. Okay. Next fight was Felix Diaz. Diaz came into the fight with a 19-1 record with 9 knockouts. One loss was a disputed decision. Okay. Bud started lefty this time. Diaz is a lefty himself. So maybe we might see Bud start off southpaw against Spence based on this. We'll see. End up being a corner stoppage after round 10. Both eyes were closed on Felix Diaz. Okay. Dominant fight. He was basically just getting he was hitting without getting hit. That's the name of the goddamn game. Okay. Next fight was Julius Ndongo. Okay. Ndongo came into the fight 22-0 with 12 knockouts. He was a southpaw as well. This was his first fight in the U.S. All 4 junior welterweight belts were on the line in this one. Bud started southpaw, scored a knockdown in the 2nd, and then had a spectacular knockout in round 3. Okay. Left hand uppercut to the body. And this made him the first undisputed champ at any weight class in 11 years. Okay. So that was a big accomplishment with him unifying all the belts at 140 at that time. Okay. His next fight was with Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn came in at 18-0 and 1 with 12 knockouts. Horn had beaten Manny Pacquiao. Y'all kind of remember that one. Okay. When Manny getting on up there and starting to take some of them L's and shit like that. Even though Prime Manny took some L's too. That's a whole other story. Okay. I'm not getting into that. All right. Bud was going for his first title at welterweight. In this fight, okay, and he ended up winning the WBO title. He started right in and switched within like 15 seconds. Okay, again, a lot of these fights, I'm telling you, he just be starting right in. For I don't know what he be doing. Might well just come out there southpaw. Cause he switches so quickly. But Bud was manhandling Horn in clinches. I mean, just on some mean shit. He strategically was using clinches on the inside, which I think they may be key in the Spence fight. He switched back to righting midway through the 8th, and switched back again within a minute. He stunned the fuck out of Horn at the end of the 8th with a flush left hand. Knocked him down and then knocked him out in the 9th. Dominant. Okay. Next fight was Jose Benavidez. Okay. Benavidez, and this was a very interesting fight for me. All right. Benavidez came in at 27-0 with 18 knockouts. He was 4 inches taller, younger, bigger. Okay. He had been shot in the knee, which limited his mobility some based on what they were saying. Okay. Bud started righty in this fight. He switched left it around the minute 30 mark of the first after Jose taunted him. Okay, so maybe Bud got mad and was like, okay, we finna get to work. Jose used a nice jab in this fight. He was pretty tough because it seemed like the whole night that Bud was hitting him with shit. He just come back. Y'all know how these fighters act. Somebody hit him with a good shot, they play it off like it ain't hurt him or nothing like that. But he did seem pretty tough. Jose landed a few right hands. He rocked Crawford with a right on the belt line in the fourth. But Bud bounced right back. Okay, he took it well. It was a very close fight through 5. They were damn near even on power punches. Okay, Bud started to open up a lead in the 7th and 8th. Okay, he switched to right in the last minute of the 10th and opened up while Jose was against the ropes. Jose started firing back, and then Bud switched back left. I'm telling you, he gonna go back to that southpaw whenever he's trying to get defensive. Okay, now it was an epic last minute of this fight. Okay, Bud starting to open up. Jose mocked him like he did the whole damn fight. Then Bud hit him with a combo featuring a right uppercut, okay, which dropped him. He hadn't thrown that damn uppercut all night long. And then he finished him after that. Ref stopped it with like 20 seconds left, okay? But I got to say, respect to Benavidez for this fight. I love these kind of fights. These are the best kind of fights for your money. You get the full 12 rounds and you still get a knockout. God damn it, that's the best kind of fight. Best kind of fight. Do want to make note though, and this go back to his mindset. Bud refused to shake hands with this motherfucker after the fight. He straight told Bob Arum, no, I ain't shaking hands. Okay, so I guess there was a lot of animosity and shit leading up to that fight, and then with all the taunting throughout the fight. Now, another note about Bud's mama, who seems to be a character in her own goddamn right. Okay, the announcer shared a story about his mama saying that she would tell kids in the hood that I'll give you $10 if you can take my son, and not many could. Okay. Now, well, mama to be on that shit, that's crazy. Okay. But now I saw her myself in this fight, in the post fight. She said, I told him to break that motherfucker's jaw. I said, man, what? Miss Deborah, crazy. Okay. But moving on. All right. The next fight for Bud was Amir Khan. All right, Khan came into this fight 33-4. Bud started righty. Scored a knockdown in the first. Okay, stunned him with a straight right hand and knocked him down with a left. He basically just countered over Khan's jab. He stunned him again with a right, right before the bell. Okay. Now note, this is something learned from the announcer. They say that Khan had fought Canelo at middleweight and won most of the early rounds, okay? But he made a mistake in the 6th, okay? So that speaks to the level of motherfucker that Amir Khan is, okay? Y'all have seen some viral clips of how fast his hands and shit used to be and all that kind of stuff, okay? But getting back to the fight, Bud finally switched lefty after the first minute of the third. He switched back and forth during the last 30 seconds of the fourth. He went back to lefty to begin the 5th, switching back and forth in this round. Okay. Back to righty to start the 6th. Khan landed a few shots, near the end of the 5th. And then there was some weird shit that transpired. Okay. The fight was stopped in the 6th after a low blow by Bud. Okay. The ref was trying to give Khan the 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it is, to recover. But then Khan's corner chose to stop the fight instead. Now, that was some weird ass shit. Okay. That was some weird shit. Now, if you, again, I haven't been watching all the other fluffy shit that goes along with all this, you know what I'm talking about? I just been watching the fight. So if you got some more information about that, share that with us, okay? But that was some weird shit. All right. His next fight, though, Bud's next fight was against Kavaliauskas, okay? I ain't even gonna try his first night. It was against Kavaliauskas. Kavaliauskas came in 21-0 with one draw and was the #1 challenger. Okay. Bud started lefty. He actually, Kavaliauskas did, caught Bud the nice right hand in the 2nd. He didn't stun him, but Bud had to feel that shit. Okay. And in the third, I would say Bud got knocked down. They didn't count it as a knockdown. They didn't count it as a knockdown. But I believe that shit should have been scored a knockdown. They ruled it a slip. Okay. He caught him with another nice right hand. And then they kind of got tangled, but not really. And then Bud went down. Oh, he got right up, you know what I'm talking about? But I think that should have been scored a knockdown. And that would have been the only knockdown that I've seen that I saw in my research of his. Okay. Now, Kavaliauskas, in my opinion, was up through like 4 rounds. Okay. Now, Bud finally switched right in the last minute of the 7th, seeming to hurt Kavaliauskas with the left. Scored a knockdown within 30 seconds of this. Hit him with a right hand behind the ear. Was looking to finish him, but he ran out of time. Okay. He started the 8th round as a righty, switched back lefty during the last minute. Scored a knockdown in the first 30 seconds of the night. Came out as a lefty, hit him with a nasty uppercut. Finished with a right hook on the ear, knocked him down. Ref didn't even count. Over with. Okay. After this, Bud said he wanted to start writing, but he was just following the instructions of his coach. Okay. Next fight was Kell Brook. Okay. Now Kell came in 39-2 with 27 knockouts. Okay. Now Kell is one of the interesting fights because this is one of the common opponents for Spence and Crawford. Okay. Those 2 losses on Brook's record up until this point were to Triple G and Spence. That's it. Now, this fight was during, like the heights of COVID. I actually remember watching this fight live, but then, of course, I just went back and watched it doing my research. Okay, they fought in the quote-unquote bubble. Okay, Bud started righty, switched to lefty during the last 30 seconds. And he was kind of switching often in this fight. Now, some info from the announcers in this fight. Bud came into the fight with his opponents having the lowest connect percentage in the welterweight division. Okay. So is his defense Floyd Mayweather's defense? No. Okay. But the man is a very slick, and I would call him a brilliant fighter. Okay. He is a pretty good master of hitting and not being hit. Okay. He ended up scoring a standing 8 count with a stabbing right out of the southpaw stance. He really like a damn jab. He stunned this man with a jab. Okay. He finished him quickly after that. Now, Brook was saying that he was rejuvenated coming into this fight. Okay. He was coming off of 3 wins. And from what I was hearing from the announcers, they were acting like, okay, the man's supposed to be back. Got his ass whooped. Okay. Now, after this fight, Bud and Bob Arum both called for Errol Spence. Okay. So it seemed like the drum beat was starting. Okay. Next fight for Bud was Sean Porter. Another important fight because this is another shared opponent for Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. All right. Porter came in 31-3 with 1 draw with 17 KOs. Okay. Of course, one of those losses was to Errol Spence. All right. Bud started righty, switched lefty in the second. Porter was being more cautious with Bud than he was with Errol. He was real reckless with Errol. I'm gonna talk about that in the Errol joint. Okay. But he still was having his success when he was rushing Bud. Okay. And Bud was just laughing at him. Okay. Porter got cut, I'm sorry, from a headbutt in the third. Now, note, Andre Ward had Porter up in the fight on his unofficial card, 39-37 after 4 rounds. Now, I would have called it even, okay? But it was a tough fight. All right. Bud got cut from a headbutt in the 6th, okay? Now, another note, Andre Ward again described Porter as fighting a perfect fight. Ward even had Porter up 1 through 7, okay? But then, before the 9th round, Bud asked his corner, He up. He up. And then he said, okay, I got him. And then within 15 seconds, Sean Porter was on the motherfucking floor. You can't make this shit up. This shit out of a movie. He caught him coming in wild, okay, and hit him with a left uppercut to the chin, okay. Knocked him down again with a combination, featuring a mean right hook and then two lefts. And then Porter's daddy got on the canvas and stopped the fight. Now, that was controversial. All right, if y'all remember that, a lot of controversy about that man Pops stopping that fight, okay. But, and when I watched it the first time, I was like, whoa, what you doing, man? Why you stopping the fight, man? But now that I've seen Bud's damn near his whole career, I see that motherfucker's a stopper. He's a killer. You know what I'm talking about? So I do believe he would have ended up ending that shit and possibly hurting Sean. But Sean's a tough motherfucker. But after that second knockdown, it was more knockdowns to come, more than likely. Okay. Another note, Miss Deborah came up in that bitch jiggy. You know what I'm talking about? She was dancing. Miss Deborah crazy here. All right. Bud's last fight though was get David Avanesian. This was different because this was his first fight post Top Rank. Okay. And so this promotion was done by from Black Prime. Okay, this was Black Prime pay-per-view. Okay. And Avanesian came in 29-3-1 with 17 KOs, 6 straight knockouts since his last loss. He had once beat Shane Mosley, but goddamn Shane was 44 goddamn years old. Shane ain't had no business in there no more. This was billed as Bud's last fight in Omaha. Okay. And that man held it down for Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, for real. Especially now, we know Nebraska for Cornhusker football, but the Cornhuskers ain't been like that since the 90s. So this man really been giving them something to cheer for. But the whole thing with Arum, I'll get into that momentarily. Let's handle the fight first real quick, okay? Bud started righty, switched lefty during the second half of the round. The fight was paused before the sixth because Bud's gloves were busted, okay? And I guess they were going to take care of that after that round, so I guess somebody was going to get some more glove. Didn't matter, okay? He ended up knocking them out in the sixth, okay? Right hook sent David to the floor. Basically, he was countering. He countered with the uppercut hook combo after dodging a left, okay? So it was a wrap, okay? Knocked out clean on the floor. This matchup was clearly a bridge fight. Okay, clearly a bridge fight to Spence after the breakup with Bob Arum. And Bud made $10 million for this fight, the most money he had made. Ain't that crazy? He made more money to fight Avanesian than he did Sean Porter or Kell Brook or you know what I'm saying? Or Amir Khan. Like, that's crazy. And the whole relationship between him and Bob Arum was crazy, especially given how it ended. Bud ended up suing this man, alleging racism and saying Bob Arum wasn't delivering the Spence fight. Say this man wanted the Spence fight as early as 2020, but Bob Arum wasn't delivering the shit. Okay, so I don't know. It's crazy. Now that Bob Arum is out of the way, we get the fight. So maybe Bob Arum was the problem, okay? Another note, though, the announcer said that Spence was in another car accident on the day of this fight. Well, God damn, Errol Spence, shit. We got to keep him out of these vehicles. He got to stay at the crib. Shit. But there it is. I actually watched Bud Crawford's fights, okay? And I just gave you the rundown, all right? So let me know what y'all think about Bud's resume and who y'all picking this weekend. All right? Put it on some.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?